He asked me, did you see me do these things I'm accused of? No, I wasn't there when it happened. I never saw the victims until they were brought into the hospital at Tenwick. Looking genuinely confused, he asked haltingly, then how can you say I did this thing when I didn't even see it with my own eyes? The moment he asked that question, I remembered his seizure, and something clicked in my mind. I had only recently read a medical journal article about an unusual condition called temporal lobe seizure, sometimes also referred to as a psychomotor seizure. The case I read involved a Vietnam combat veteran who acted normally until he suddenly exploded with a violent behavior that he could never recall afterward. He was eventually diagnosed with temporal lobe seizures, which, unlike grand mal seizures, which totally incapacitate a person, allow victims to interact with their environment, carrying on a conversation, for example, until suddenly something snaps and they erupt into violence. Afterward, they cannot recall anything about the incident or even what was happening for some time before it occurred. Your Honor, I asked, could we have a short recess so I can speak to you in the chambers? The magistrate stopped the proceedings. In private, I told him, I think it's possible this defendant is not responsible for his actions. He may have a medical condition for which he needs treatment. He is being treated for his seizures, the judge assured me, but he is probably being treated for grand mal seizures. I explained the difference and recommended the man to be tested. When the magistrate expressed uncertainty about where such an evaluation could be conducted, I suggested he let me take the prisoner back and evaluate him at Tenway. The judge thanked me for my testimony and said he would consider any medical recommendations. I went back to Penwick. The trial continued, and the young man was convicted and sentenced to a 3-year prison term. I never learned what happened to him after that. To my knowledge, he was never tested and never received proper treatment for his condition. But as sad as I was for that young man, I was thrilled for the recovery of his victims. Panga Sunday itself became a memorable day in the history and lore of Tenwick Hospital. As well, a personal memory that will forever epitomize for me the extent of the challenges I might face anytime I am trying to do what I feel God has called me to do. I must confess that few days in all my life as a doctor have provided such drama. Few cases have demanded so many different and untested skills in so little time, and few experiences have humbled me so much. But Panga Sunday proved an invaluable lesson for a young missionary doctor still wet behind the ears. It convinced me that being a physician on the mission field, like being a Christian committed to serving Christ anywhere, would mean facing situations for which I could never be fully prepared. It would mean taking the risk of trusting God to use me despite my own inadequacies in knowledge, skill, and experience. That experience also convinced me I had so much to learn from the great physician, and I still do. In fact, Whenever I recall Panga Sunday, I am reminded that I have been called not just as a doctor, but as a follower of Christ, to do and be more than I am capable of doing or being on my own. We all are. This is why we must consider the practice and the example of the great physician in the chapters that follow. So much of what we learn will apply not just to the practice of medicine, but to the practice of our faith in everyday life. So ends chapter 1. Thank you. Like and subscribe.